I not tell you? Did I not tell you guys? I mean, PD got arrested. I mean, it's happening. AV was correct. What was happening? It's happening. It's going down. I can't believe this guy got arrested, you guys. Come on in. Sinji will probably join. Other people will probably join. Come on in. I missed a few things. Yes, your girl was late to the 7th power. If you guessed that, that was correct. We're talking about this today because, guys, you know, this has been one of the stories on my channel that I've been covering from start to finish. And that's really because back in July, I noticed this story just hidden in the depths of law and crime that nobody was talking about because it was old. And you know what that story was? It was the story of Tupac Shakur. Okay. Best rapper alive in the opinion of many, 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 many people. Okay. I gave you guys a legal opinion that many, 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 many people were not covering. Okay. Here's why that was important. Keefe D got arrested today. I broke down what that meant because at the time in July, when we looked at this, at the time in August, when we covered this, and even on the anniversary of Tupac's death, almost 30 years later, in early September, I was one of the only people that talked about it again. Shout out to me. The issue is Keefe D was not the shooter. Before we get into anything, before I look at who's in here right now, Keefe D, let's get that very abundantly clear, was not the actual person that pulled the trigger, that killed Tupac Shakur. What Keefe D did was almost more egregious. Okay? Come on in, guys. I wish I can zoom in when I'm live streaming. I wish I can do what Kevin did and just pull you in so we could really talk about this. Here's what Keefe D did. That was crazy. Let's bring the mic over a little bit. Keefe D was the uncle of the person that pulled the trigger to kill Tupac Shakur. But what makes what Keefe D did, what makes it super egregious, is that he went everywhere and started self-snitching. This was the very last video that I've put on my channel, guys. I went dark for 2 weeks. I'm almost happy I did. It's almost like the universe is aligning. It's like Tupac is just like, no, you're not putting any other content out. We're going to do this right. This is what was happening. Keefe D went on Vlad TV and talked about this experience that he had. He published a book and made money. He went everywhere and started making money on these media appearances, right? What made me sad when I covered it was hearing Tupac's brother Mopreme, the stepbrother, and his sister. And ironically, there was the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame that had Tupac's name on it. That was actually just put down this year. Here we are 30 years later, but what people don't understand is just this man's name alone is $1 million business. The family was upset that nearly 30 years later, with modern day technology, law enforcement wasn't able to piece this together. Today, lo and behold, I got a text message from someone because again, guys, nobody else was covering this. It was dead silent. I was like, there's something here, man. Why is everybody looking at Keefe D? But the reality is Keefe D was self-snitching. And he had been getting away with this for years. And no one said anything. Shout out to YouTubers that were actually interviewing this guy. and allowing him to just talk. Everybody's asking him questions. What do you got to say, Keefe D? But here's the thing. That's YouTubers. You're on A&E doing a full-blown documentary talking about your experience. And 2 live streams ago, guys, I pulled up the search warrant to show you how the Las Vegas Police Department pulled up to this guy's house, kicked in the door, waving the 4-4, no pun intended, looking for certain things. The first page of that search warrant, right, that a grand jury judge signed, had specific things that they were looking for in that home. Why were they related to the novel that he wrote? Why were they related to laptops, Toshiba laptops? I don't know who buys those anymore. They were related to those. They were related to hard drives. They were related to multimedia. And even Tupac's sister even mentioned, like, hey, if you had committed a crime, first of all, why did he go back to Las Vegas? That was crazy. This was in Las Vegas. The crime took place in Las Vegas. Keefe D was still living in Las Vegas. Okay. They kicked in the door in Las Vegas at his wife's place, right? I say they bought tanks. The police really, and I'll show you guys the footage if you want to look at it again. It was really a show of force, right? I might also pull up Mo Preem's interview again, because all of this started taking place in July, right? Mo Preem did an interview. It was getting closer to the 30th anniversary. This is Tupac's stepbrother, and he wanted to start talking about the issue again, right? And he was in the media talking about this. This was also around the time that the Hollywood Star was being placed on Hollywood Boulevard. This is a big deal for the family, right? But they were very, I don't know how to say this. They were just very reluctant to believe that the police were going to get some results. Meanwhile, this is in front of a grand jury. What does a grand jury do, guys? A grand jury, their job is to look at if there's a possibility to indict somebody for a crime. So before a case can even go to court, a prosecutor who Keefe D was on Vlad TV talking about was warning him, hey, we have enough against you to go forward with this. Okay. Keefe D's is like, oh, you guys are harassing me, blah, blah, blah. But dude, you're on Vlad TV. Do y'all want to look at that? I'm going to go to the chat in a second. Do you guys want to watch that interview? But first, we're going to go to the actual press conference where they are looking at what happens today. This is huge in the hip hop community as well. I don't know. I'm going to go to the chat in a second, but if you love Tupac Shakur right now, please put Pac in the chat. Please put your roses growing out of concrete. I got mine right here. Shout out to the roses growing out of concrete. I have them right here. Put your roses growing out of concrete in the chat, because this is epic. Should it have taken 30 years for a grand jury to indict someone on this crime? No. But the other thing that a lot of OGs are talking about in this community right now is that there's only a few people left that are alive to tell the story of what happened to Tupac. Some people are talking about Suge. Some people are talking about Puffy. But who was the only person in media running their mouth about what happened? I believe his name was Keefe D. And I believe he was on Vlad TV. And I believe he was on The Art of Dialogue. The Art of Dialogue, shout out to that channel. We're going to watch it. Go look at my other stuff if you want to check it out. Shout out to The Art of Dialogue for the whole month of September has been putting out interviews about this entire case. And that's probably the only other person that I've seen covering this at all, because it's 30 years. We are so enthralled with things that are like, I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. We're enthralled with like Young Jeezy's divorce. We're enthralled with all these other things. But dear viewer, if you and I, if you're my friend and if I'm your friend, and if one of us is murdered, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, YouTube. If one of us is murdered and 20 years from now, there's another person out there profiting from talking about that, who put a book out talking about his experience, who put a documentary out talking about his experience. And then just because he's getting a little bit older, goes on Vlad and talks about his experience and made money from all of those revenues. I am sorry, dear viewers, but I mean, he told on himself in all of those places. Do you not think law enforcement can look at all of those things? Ooh, shout out to StreamYard. Can look at all of those things and see what you are saying and not use that as evidence against you. And then he had a proffer deal in California. Guys, there is so much tea. I've been waiting for this to happen. Shout out to the 86 people in this chat. But before we cook, before we go in, I needed to give you guys the synopsis of how we've led up to today. Because Keefe D was still doing interviews even after this grand jury said, hey, we're going to look into you. Because the grand jury's job is to see if there's enough to indict. That grand jury decided, yes, there was enough, Keefe D. What is that evidence? We're going to watch this together, guys. We're going to watch what the Las Vegas police is saying. I'm very interested in what they have to say as far as what they have. They're only going to give us a little bit of information here. But at the same time, I want you guys to pay attention to this. This is going to be a very high profile thing. It's been all over the news today. But I really want to give a huge shout out to the people that did not take their foot off the gas and did not take their foot off of this case, because today we have an arrest. Also, you should know that Keefe D has some cancer, so we don't know how long he's going to do in jail. Who do we have in the building? Shout out to Google Me, says right on time. Get your paper. That is correct. Shout out to Eclipse. He says, say what? Yes, the man he got arrested today. Tia says, whoa, try to catch this live. Catch it on replay. Look at who we have in the building. The lead attorney is in here. Shout out to the lead. Thank you so much for being here. E. Capone is here. He says, excellent. Wow, finally. Sarah, listen. Sarah, that is correct. 30 years. 30 years. And it baffles me because I put shorts out on this. Everybody's like, oh, you're crazy. You're still talking about this case. Oh, yeah. I was still talking about it. It was great. Maine says, well, all right. We might get some closure on this case soon. Not soon, Maine. There's an arrest. There's a grand jury. We might. Are you guys ready? We might get a trial on this soon. A trial? Are you kidding me? A Tupac trial in 2024? Let's see what happens. G Get INC says, yo. Wasn't he also in the car of the shooters at the time? I think I broke that down. Yes. CJ Max says they finally arrested Keefe D. Like, damn. Yeah. This is like crazy that it took this long, but it did. Shout out to Survivor Larry. Yes, big news. Amethyst is in here. Late casual economist. Yes, I was late to the 7th power, but we're about to cook. We are about to cook. I called it. Tia, didn't I call this? I called this like a month and a half ago, and nobody was in this. Everybody's in this chat right now. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe, because your girl is showing you. When I pull this out, it's time to look into the details, and we go into the legal things. And I use these law books from time to time when it's time, but you get some good stuff out of it. So shout out to you, JB. Shout out to you. Maine's in here. I saw the news and I thought, where is AV7? Shout out to 10 Plus Sounds, who is the editor that helps me with my shorts. That is what helps get the news out there. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the supers, guys, because I see people like, hello, let's get into the tea. Where are we? We're gonna do that. I'm gonna go to the Professional Nomad podcast. He says, let's get it. AV. Thank you so much for the $1.99 super chat. I appreciate you. Hollywood sends a $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And then the Professional Nomad's like, yeah, AV's dropping bars. It's serious. This case actually pisses me off, to be honest with you guys. This is one of the only things that I've ever seen as a legal analyst that upsets me, truly, because this could be any one of us. But the fact that this is a celebrity, that is a celebrity of color, and it has taken this long, 30 years, and he passed away when he was like, what, 25, 26? To get closure? No wonder Mopreme and the sister, they're like, what are you guys doing? Oh, there's something happening. What's happening now? It's crazy. So thank you, Professional Nomad. Look at 10 plus becoming a member. Thank you so much. Dub Will says, AV Keefe D, aka please arrest me. I mean, the self-snitching was crazy. Let me keep going, guys, because I don't want to see people dipping out of here. I want to get straight to the content. The Quiet Storm, thank you, sends a $10 super, says just because. Thank you so much, brother. I have a lot of love for you. Victoria K became a new member. Thank you so much. And Professional Nomad says, let it be a trial so AV can piece it out, right? Thank you so much for the $1.99 super. Okay, guys, we are going to go to the press release, or the press conference, so to speak. We're going to see what the Las Vegas Police Department had to say after they made this arrest. Couple things to keep in mind. Number one, this started in July, right? So there was a grand jury that needed to see if there was enough evidence to indict Keefe D and try him, not for, in my opinion, he's an accessory to a murder, but the prosecution wants to try him. Are you guys ready? For first-degree murder. And I needed to scroll down real quick. Shout out to my brother Sinji, who says, Busta shot me 5 times. Real ends don't die, Pac. All them agencies knew them dudes were responsible. Now they need to close down the big case, which we know LA County owns. Who's involved. That's another one. Do y'all want me to cover the Biggie case after this? Imagine. Okay, let's go to the press conference. We'll watch it together. We will react together. I will fill you guys in with the legal knowledge as we go. But as mentioned, starting in July, a grand jury needed to indict. The prosecutor needed to show them if they had enough evidence to indict. It looks like the answer was yes, because you cannot arrest someone. They searched his home to look for these things, to look for the multimedia. They found it. They took it out of his home, right? They still didn't arrest him at the time. It was a search warrant. Today, an arrest warrant was executed and he was arrested. And today he's actually detained. So I'm going to go ahead and bring us to 11 Alive. We'll watch this together and react together. I will catch up in the chat and we'll talk about what the next steps are, what this means, if there's going to be a trial, what bail looks like, all of that fun stuff. And we'll go from there. Okay. I think the sound is weird on this in the beginning.
Of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, aka Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Davis was arrested this morning by my LVMPD criminal apprehension team, and this investigation started on the night of September 7th, 1996. It is far from over. It has taken countless hours, really decades, of work by the men and women of our homicide section to get to where we are today. Several of those detectives that are standing here with us include Detective Cliff Mogg, the lead detective on this case. He is now retired. Well, I know there's been many people who did not believe that the murder of Tupac Shakur was important to this police department. I'm here to tell you that was simply not the case. It was not.
Okay, we're going to stop for a second because also, guys, the other piece of expertise that I have outside of the legal stuff is I'm actually also a corporate communications specialist. I've been doing it for 10 years. Think about what he just said. There are a lot of people that didn't believe that the Las Vegas Police Department didn't care about this case. A couple things I want to break down on that one. And shout out to Victoria. I think Victoria actually lives in Las Vegas. So shout out to you. Two things. Number one, this is the Las Vegas Police Department. We need to think about jurisdiction, right? That's a city. Keefe D lived in Henderson, which is kind of like a suburb of Las Vegas, right? This crime took place in Las Vegas. Keefe D got a proffer deal in LA, in California, right? What is a proffer deal? A proffer deal typically is if you work with a detective on a different crime and if you give them information. So again, Keefe D has a history of snitching. If you give someone information, you can get some immunity with crimes. Now, that was in LA, and this is in Las Vegas. The other things you guys need to understand when we talk about some of these crimes is he had a federal prosecutor looking at him. So I'm hoping to get some answers on this because this is a Las Vegas, a city jurisdiction, not a state jurisdiction, not a federal jurisdiction. This is a city giving this press conference, or at least hosting this press conference. So let's keep going.
Not the case back then, and it is not the case today. Our goal at LVMPD has always been to hold those accountable and responsible for Tupac's violent murder accountable. Just like we do for every homicide victim in our city. Every single victim, every life that is lost is important and remains a priority to this police department. As we methodically built this case to move forward with an arrest, it was also important that at the same time, we're building towards a successful prosecution. We work closely with our esteemed district attorney.
Guys, is it me or is he nervous as hell? Like he is super nervous, and that's okay. This is in front of national television. CNN reported on this. MSNBC reported on this. All the media outlets reported on this. This is a big deal. So the nerves are real.
Attorney Steve Wolfson in his office to ensure that is going to happen. Mr. Davis's own words reinvigorated our case in 2018. I'm going to give you some of those details, and I'm going to introduce to you our homicide lieutenant, Jason Johansson, and he will provide you many of the details on how we got here today. Lieutenant.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you, everybody, for being here today. My name is Jason Johansson, and I'm the homicide lieutenant with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And my goal here today is to walk you through our investigation and what led us to the indictment of Dwayne Davis, also known as Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
What do they have on you?
This case has been reviewed by our homicide team and homicide detectives for over 2.5 decades. And ultimately, our persistence in this investigation has paid off. Let me walk you through a timeline of events that as we know them right now.
Guys, I mean, we're going to listen to them on the timeline, but let me just say this. We've heard the timeline to his point for 2.5 decades. I want to know what you have on Keefe D. I want to know what you got from those search warrants. I want to know what was on those actual pieces of info, or not even pieces of electronics that you took from his home. What was on the Toshiba laptops? What was on all of those iPads? Because there was iPads with cracked screens. And here's the other thing. Even if those pieces of evidence were used to concoct some stories or I think they're really trying to get him on the self-snitching, if you want me to be honest, to bring all of those pieces of information together. They had to be stored on those electronic devices, right? This crime took place in 1996, 1997, right? Electronic devices I mean, people have been doxing me in the comments and getting mad at me in the comments. Like those type of electronic devices did not exist back then. And if they did, they probably looked crazy. Okay. But they didn't exist back then. So this search warrant was looking for modern technology devices, which means what was stored on them for them to have something on Keefe D. This is why I think it's the self-snitching on the documentaries. But let's keep going. I'm so curious. I hope you guys are too.
Prior to September 7th of 1996, as we all know, Tupac Shakur was an artist who was signed with Death Row Records. And that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the Southside Compton Crips. Dwayne Davis was the leader and shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips. And both of these gangs operated out of the Southern California area of Compton. On the night of September 7th of 1996, Tupac Shakur, along with Suge Knight, and members of their entourage, which include members of Mob Piru, came to Vegas to attend the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand Garden Arena.
Okay, we talked about this, guys, and let me make myself big for a second. Not new information on the Tupac thing, okay? He was in Las Vegas for two things. There was a Mike Tyson fight. Mike fought. He knocked the guy out in a minute, so it wasn't a long fight. I hope that he is going to cover the fight that happened on the casino floor, okay? Because that's what led up to the murder. There was an individual that was involved with the Crips that Tupac fought with, right? I think he just didn't have a lot of people with him, and Tupac had an army. Like, I go back 2 live streams ago, I showed you guys the clip. It was like the actual footage from when this fight happened. Tupac looked like a war general with just a bunch of people behind him going to beat the brakes off of this guy, right? So they had the fight, and obviously was a little bit unmatched. Guy leaves the fight, Orlando, who I'm going to call the victim in the situation. Orlando gets butthurt. He goes to find Keefe D and all these other guys to go and, have retaliation against Tupac, right? So it starts to get a little bit crazy, but I just want to make sure that you know what's coming next before he says it in this press conference. But let's keep going.
Members of the Southside Compton Crips, which included Dwayne Davis, along with his nephew, Orlando Anderson, were also in attendance at the same event. As both were leaving the fight, members of Death Row Records spotted Orlando Anderson near an elevator bank inside the MGM. And at that time, they began to kick and punch him near that elevator bank. I will now show you hotel security footage, as many of you have already seen, related to this incident.
There's the actual
And on this incident, you will see Tupac Shakur, who's wearing a shiny satiny shirt, along with Marion Suge Knight, who's a large man in a brown suit, punching and kicking Orlando Anderson.
Okay, see, that's not fair.
Following this incident,
sorry guys, sorry. As a comms professional, I can't just let that's not going to happen. Okay. They are showing you when Tupac was beating Orlando Anderson. They are not showing you in this press conference what led up to that. There is footage out there of Tupac and his people chasing Orlando, right? But I think that this is a little bit unfair here because you're not able to see what led to the ultimate altercation. Are people just fighting in the middle of a casino for no reason? No, somebody said something to someone else and it escalated to that. Here, you're not seeing that. So already as a comms professional and a legal professional, I'm looking at it like, all right, you're leaving a big part of the story out of it, but that's okay. We'll keep watching.
you'll see hotel security intervene, and then they will leave the area of the fight.
Listen to what he said. Tupac and squad just hit this guy randomly. Orlando. Oh yeah, they just picked a fight with Orlando, right? And then they proceeded to leave. That is not the entire story at all. Where's Orlando's involvement? They're not showing you guys that. But let's keep listening.
Little did anyone know that it is this incident right here that would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and death of Tupac Shakur. Following this incident, Tupac and Suge Knight both left the MGM to make their way to a post-fight party, which was to occur at a local nightclub.
Shout out to
At
Jamal.
the same time, word had spread amongst members of the Southside Compton Crips of what had occurred inside the MGM. And then that's when Dwayne Davis began to devise a plan to obtain a firearm and retaliate against Suge Knight and Mr. Shakur for what occurred inside the hotel against Mr. Anderson.
Now they're talking
After
about
Davis obtained a gun, he entered into a white Cadillac along with Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Orlando Anderson. Based on our investigation, this is where we know they were seated.
Okay, so gonna pause again because inconsistencies with this press conference. They are not really describing Orlando's involvement with this. They're just mentioning how he got beat down. And Keefe D, listen to what he just said. He said Keefe D went and got the firearm to go retaliate and find Tupac after Orlando got beat down. Right? I think that I don't know if people are nervous with this press conference and they just want to focus on what Keefe D did exactly, because remember, Orlando's dead. Tupac is dead. All of these people are no longer here. So in a way, it makes sense to just focus on, the person you just arrested. And if you're talking about how they're involved, let's keep watching. But I want you guys to keep that in mind. For press conferences, you want to be very, very clear on exactly what happened and how it led to an arrest. A lot of inconsistencies from what I can see so far, but let us keep going.
At some point in time, as they were in the white Cadillac, Mr. Davis took the gun that he had obtained and provided it to the passengers in the rear seat of the vehicle. As they were driving west on Flamingo Road near Koval, they located the black BMW, which was driven by Suge Knight, and in the passenger seat was Tupac Shakur. And as they turned around, they pulled up near the passenger side of that vehicle and immediately began shooting at Mr. Knight and Mr. Shakur.
Who let off first?
Following that shooting, the white Cadillac fled the area southbound on Koval.
See how I just asked that question? He says, this is a summary. Okay, yeah. So they found Tupac in the black BMW with Suge Knight, and this white Cadillac pulled up next to them. Here's the 4 people that were in that white Cadillac. Shout out to Live from NYC, because yes, they are telling us things that we already know, right? Who pulled the trigger? He's not saying that because Orlando's dead. So I want to know what they have on Keefe D. Because again, guys, from a legal lens, and shout out to the person that said, don't let her put the glasses on. From a legal lens, this is an accessory. He went off, and it is not ethically moral for this guy to run around and make money on somebody else's death. At all. That's unacceptable. I don't even know what crime that is, but it's just wrong. Right? But he's not going to. Who pulled the trigger? Because they know Orlando pulled it. He just says that there was a shooting that occurred. Let's keep going, because this is super interesting.
And after our officers arrived on scene, Tupac was later transported to the University Medical Center, where he's treated medically and died approximately 6 days later on September 13th. My homicide section handled this investigation from its onset and for a short amount of time. And within a short amount of time, what we knew was that we were working a gang investigation where our victims, our witnesses, and our suspects were all from Southern California and not local to Las Vegas. Within the first few months of the investigation, our detectives knew most of the information I just briefed you on. However, we never had the necessary evidence to bring this case forward and present it for criminal charges.
Wow.
As time went on, this case had been reviewed multiple times by different investigators assigned to my section,
What do you have?
but it wasn't until 2018 that this case was reinvigorated as additional information came to light related to this homicide.
Where's the
Specifically, Dwayne Davis's own admissions to his involvement in this homicide investigation.
What? Wow. Did we not talk about self-snitching? I told you guys. Oh. Let's go back. He just said Dwayne, I was going to say Dwayne Johnson. Keefe D's admissions, his own admissions. He went to Vlad. He went to all these places. You think if you commit a crime, you can run around and just talk about what you did and think that you're not going to get caught? This is absolutely Keefe D told on himself. And it's not funny, guys. It's not funny. I did say Dwayne Johnson. I said the wrong. Listen, self-snitching at its finest. I don't know how this man thought that he could just run around and talk about Tupac's murder in the first person. Like, yeah, I was sitting in the passenger seat. I handed this person the gun. I shined it. I did all these things. I mean, I cannot tell you guys, this is why I will never practice criminal law. Because there's things that people will do for money. And telling on yourself does bring some money in. It does. If you want to self-snitch, you go ahead. You'll make some money. Your lawyer will hate you. That is correct. Your lawyer will hate you. But if you're going to do that, how does anybody defend that? What is the first thing? I was like, okay, what do they have on him, guys? What do they have? The first thing that this law enforcement person in a press conference said, this is why they briefed us. I was curious about this. This is why they briefed us so quickly. The first piece of evidence that they have is that Keefe D told on himself.
Investigation that he provided to numerous different media outlets.
Oh my God.
In our section, we knew at this time that this was likely our last time to take a run at this case to successfully solve this case and bring forth a criminal charge. Wow. It was at that time that this case was assigned to Cliff Mogg, a detective within my homicide section. And over the last 5 years,
Trace, oh my God.
My section worked closely hand in hand with the Clark County District Attorney's Office and followed a systematic investigative plan over the last 5 years.
This is insane.
We've conducted countless interviews and corroborated numerous facts that were not only consistent with the crime scene on the night of the incident, but also corroborated and were consistent with the sequence of events that night. This ultimately led to us procuring a search warrant, which was executed at Mr. Davis's residence in Henderson, Nevada. Mm-hmm. And following the execution of that search warrant,
what did they find?
In close coordination with the District Attorney's Office, this case was presented to the grand jury, which ultimately led to Davis being indicted on charges of murder.
Got indicted on murder.
Before I hand it off to the District Attorney's Office, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Detective Mogg and all the other detectives that were not only assigned this case and reviewed this case, but all the other detectives from other agencies that assisted us in this investigation. They know who they are, and thank you very much for all the assistance you provided. It does not go unnoticed. And lastly, one of the most important things, in my opinion, is we need to make this be a reminder that the charge of murder does not have a statute of limitations.
Ooh, shout out to the person in the chat that said that. One of you guys said that. There is no SOL, statute of limitations on murder. The murder can take place in 1940, and they can arrest your granddad or your grandma if there's enough evidence to indict them for this crime. Keefe D was involved with it, even as an accessory, even as a person that allegedly didn't pull the trigger himself. But I really, can you guys imagine? Because this is going to go to trial now. I mean, I think we're there. You will see. You will see in 2024. And I'm so glad that you heard it here first on this channel. And shout out to Vlad and shout out to the Art of Dialogue. The evidence is going to come from those channels. And at the end of the day, he told on himself, and you heard it here first. This is the dumbest thing that any criminal can ever do, is go and do documentaries after you commit a crime. And Keefe D's a Crip, man. Like, he has a deep-rooted history with gang banging and violence and all of those things. I talked to you guys about the proffer deal in the last live stream and how he created a deal with the folks that were in California. So, he's just like, oh, well, I don't want to get, hit on this drug deal. So I really want to, let me give you some information on the Tupac Shakur case. And like, it's Tupac. It's Tupac. You're just bartering like that? This is crazy. I mean, you guys are witnessing history with me. Insane.
Agency has been and is invested in solving our cold case homicides so that we can bring closure to those families and justice for those victims of homicide. And with that, I will turn it over to the Clark County District Attorney, Steve Wilson.
Oh, now we're going to hear from the DA.
Thank you, Lieutenant Johansson. I appreciate it.
Jerry.
Good afternoon. I am the Las Vegas, Clark County District Attorney, Steve Wolfson. It has often been said, justice delayed is justice denied.
Ooh.
It's a quote we hear often and for many, many years when talking about our legal system, but not in this case. Today, justice will be served in the murder of Tupac Shakur. I'd like to acknowledge the relentless work of the many Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department homicide detectives. We've mentioned Detective Cliff Mogg many times, and we can't mention his name enough.
Come on.
He is the detective, along with his colleagues, that brought this case here today to you. A Clark County grand jury has indicted Dwayne Keefe Davis with one count of open murder with use of a deadly weapon with a gang enhancement. Davis will appear in court in the next few days or so for a hearing to
I'm sorry, guys. For those people that don't like linear thoughts or you like linear thoughts, I'm sorry. We need to break that down. I don't mean to laugh. If you're a Keefe D fan, I'm sorry. This is what self-snitching did. Okay. I have to talk to you guys about this. I learned it in law school. There's different degrees of murder. There's a murder in the first degree. There's murder in the second degree. There's manslaughter, and there's different types. There's involuntary manslaughter. Involuntary manslaughter. We're going to go back to what this DA is looking to charge him with. And again, this is actually, we're going to have a Tupac trial, guys. 30 years later. Like, I'm sorry. I'm 33? I'm about to be 34 next week. We might do a birthday stream. But, think about it. I was 7 years old when Tupac got shot and died? did I think I was going to go to law school and in trial stream this with all of you guys? And did you guys think that we were actually going to sit here and watch this trial in 2024? Because Keefe D, and it's not even like it's because Keefe D's red-handed. Like, maybe I should just come to the next stream with red hands. Are there red hand emojis? Can y'all put hand emojis in the chat? Because he went to interviews and told on himself. Oh my God, let's go back. Oh, let's listen to this.
With a gang enhancement.
Ooh,
Davis will appear. The jury has indicted Dwayne Keith Davis with 1 count of open murder with use of a deadly weapon with a gang enhancement. Davis will appear in court in the next few days or so for a hearing to determine his custody status and to set a jury trial date.
Oh my God!
This grand jury has been receiving evidence for months and has
He just confirmed. Ladies and gentlemen, you will have a Tupac murder trial in 2024. And in the next few days, we will know. Because chances are all that money that he made from these interviews, he ain't gonna make it on bail. I mean, unless he owns property or whatever it is. You heard it here first. I'm a tiny YouTuber. You will have a Tupac trial in 2024. Wow. Wow.
determined there is sufficient evidence to justify the filing of this criminal indictment. I've assigned 2 of my top prosecutors, Mark DiGiacomo and Banu Palal, to prosecute this case. I know a lot of people have been watching and waiting for this day. Tupac Shakur is a music legend, and for a long time, this community and worldwide have been wanting justice for Tupac.
I think y'all had justice for Johnny Depp, okay? We need to start a justice for Tupac hashtag. I mean, whether they have enough to actually convict is going to be a different story. I'm not going to damper anybody's thoughts right now, but just saying, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Today, we are taking that first step. Tupac was actually quoted as saying, "Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside while still alive. Never surrender."
Ooh.
Well, we didn't surrender thanks to the great work of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
I wonder why this is still centered in Vegas jurisdiction. But let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Under the leadership of Sheriff Kevin McMahill, Lieutenant Johansson, retired Detective Cliff Mogg, I am proud to announce.
Do y'all want to know why he put some juice on that word retired? It's because Mo Preem, Tupac's brother, was mentioning that he didn't have a lot of faith in these guys in an interview that they actually did on the death date, which was September 13th. This was about 2-3 weeks ago. Mo Preem and the sister, and I covered it here on this channel, but nobody watches anything because I'm tiny. I covered this interview on TMZ of the brother and the sister. They were very reluctant, but Mo Preem mentioned it's so funny that in July we got a call about this case from the detectives that have been working on it. But in July, that detective mentioned that he was working on it, and then he also retired in the same month. So the family didn't really have a lot of faith that something was going to come out of this. I mean, I do think that the prosecutor did a really good job here because he had mentioned, he got in front of it. He's like, we're not going to hide the ball. Yeah, we know. We know that people have been talking about this for decades. We know that we've, didn't have enough to, have a slam dunk indictment in the past, right? Because Orlando's gone. Who do you have left on the playing board? Keefe D is on the playing board. But it's just interesting that he didn't hide the ball here. So let's keep going.
The return of this document.
Ooh. What's that?
This is the indictment we've been waiting almost 3 decades for.
Wow.
It spells out the facts and circumstances and what justifies a Clark County grand jury in returning an indictment. Justice will be served. Thank you.
Oh, that was cold. I mean, that was cold in a good way. It was cold in a good way, right? That was shout out to this DA. That was cold. It was the actual document of an indictment. And I know, I mean, shout out to that boy. Will, I see you in here. I mean, there's some, content creators where we can't just show you guys documents. Like, I can't show you guys a warrant here. I need to show you that warrant on the big screen and talk about it, right? This was cold because in a press conference, it was used for effect. There's so many people that were looking for justice for Tupac for a really long time, but there's a few minutes left here. We heard from the police department. We just heard from the DA who's putting his best prosecutors on the case. I can't believe we're going to have a Tupac murder trial in 2024, but let's keep going, man. This is getting good.
Thank you, Steve. I just like to say that the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Homicide Section year over year solves over 90% of the homicides that occur in our jurisdiction. You won't find that anywhere else in the United States.
Oh, they're bragging now.
For those family members that have lost somebody that we haven't solved that case, I want you to know, just like in this case, we're not going to give up. I also say to you that as we begin, we're going to take a couple of questions. I want you to remember in your questioning that this investigation, subsequent arrest, and now indictment is only the beginning of the process. And we are committed and invested in ensuring a successful prosecution as we move forward. So with that, we'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay.
Ken?
Okay, guys, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? I mean, I am going to come back to the chat. You're going to see a Tupac Shakur murder trial in 2024. I'm going to keep saying that because I can't believe it myself. With that being said, I'm going to see what you guys think in the chat. You've seen it. You've heard it. I think we can also celebrate by going and looking at some of Keefe D's wild interviews where he snitched on himself on Vlad, and we can watch it together because it's insane. But let me go to a few super chats just to make sure I capture everybody. I think I got Sinji live from NYC. Thank you. He sends a $10 super. He says, your excitement is everything. It is. I mean, this is history, guys. We're watching it together. This is, and I hate to make it about race, this is Black America's Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, not in the same context. But this is a big deal. It's going to be huge. This is bigger than Melly. This is bigger than some of the other trials we've covered. It's a worldwide thing too. So I'm super interested. Shout out to E Capone who sends a $9.99 super. Thank you so much, E Capone. He says, what it do, AV? Excellent coverage. Thank you so much. The Professional Nomad podcast. He told on himself, the end. Guys, like, can you imagine Keefe D on the witness stand? Keefe D, was it you? Did you do it? Is this you? On Vlad right here, like just Vlad right here, just a clip of Vlad right next to him. Is that you? Did you say that? I mean, shout out to the Quiet Storm. Every move you make with an electronic device leaves a digital footprint. Even novice analysts and engineers can recreate the picture. And guys, the Quiet Storm is absolutely right. And he says that as a person that has a technology background. You guys have no idea. I'll give you an example. Here I am. I got the new iPhone. I'm over here, like before I jumped on this stream, that's what I was doing. That's why I was late. I apologize. I'm trying to take my old iPhone and put it on the new iPhone, right? And as I'm doing that, I'm realizing like how much crud I have on my iPhone, how many times I screenshot things. And you guys know us modern women, how many times I screenshot things and send them to other people. I'm like, oh my God, like all of those things, right? Your phone will leave a digital footprint no matter where you go. And it's not even just where you check in. There's location tracking on these things. They know who you're talking to. Oh my God, I was on Amazon today. I feel like this thing like listens to me because the stuff that I needed just magically appeared. In like I bought what I needed to buy and it was just like, oh, do you want to keep shopping? As women. Oh, of course. I do want to keep shopping. Scroll down. Everything that I was talking about today was there, loaded. I was like, oh my God. It's so weird. It's so weird. So the Quiet Storm is exactly right. Thank you so much, the Quiet Storm, for the $5 super. That is super, super generous of you. I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well, brother. Shout out to Maggie, the substitute teacher, with $9.99. She says, great coverage of the breaking news, showing support. Thank you so much. For those that are filing in, yeah, you're going to want to rewind a little bit because we will have a Tupac Shakur murder case in 2024. Thank you, Maggie. And for those that don't know, Maggie is also a content creator. One of the mods can drop her link to her channel in the chat. You want to learn how to cook? You want to learn about femininity? You want to learn about relationships? Maggie's the person that you go to. Shout out to that boy Will with a $20 super chat, who says, well, I guess all the Tupac is alive and well living in Cuba. Talk can stop. Correct. And that's the thing. How many people, guys, said that Tupac was alive and he was in Cuba and he was over here and the parents were, Black Panthers and this and that? That stuff is correct. Not that he's still alive, but shout out to that boy Will. Guys, this is probably the biggest fish that I have in this pond right now. Huge content creator with over 100,000 subscribers, men-centric content, super funny. I love his accent. Confession, love his accent. You guys need to check that boy Will out. Thank you so much, brother. But absolutely, I think that talk has to stop. We actually have a murder case. This is amazing. Shout out to Kagi, who sends $20 in Canadian money, who says, hopefully you can cover it when it occurs in 2024. I'm excited because you guys heard it here first. And I called it. I mean, nobody else was talking about this, guys, at all. Everybody was talking about other things. Everybody was talking about the Shabusiness trial. Everybody was talking about Melly's trial. Everybody was talking about the divorces that were going on, and that's okay. And, for me, I like to sit in the cut sometimes and watch things happen. Same thing happened with that girl. The girl that was it Alabama, the girl that disappeared or whatever. She said she saw a toddler on the side of the road. I forget her name. Like that's, it was crazy. It's coming to me, but I'm going to read the chat in a second. I did not believe it at first. And I did a video on it because you guys wanted me to. Carly Russell. Carly Russell. Carly, there it is. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of information in this brain. So with Carly Russell, I was like, all right, everybody's freaking out. I'm like, let me sit back and let's just watch. And I'm so happy I did that because guess what happened? How do you just, disappear and you show up? Sorry, I messed up the fan. But like, how do you just disappear and you show up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm home now. Where were you at? What were you doing? There was a baby. Where's the baby? Shout out to Messy Michonne, who was just like, is there a baby? It was crazy. I waited. Same thing. There was that other woman that was in Dubai. And, the news came out like, oh my gosh, she got arrested for yelling at someone. How outrageous is that? And news came out about her. Okay. I'm not even going to talk about Brickgate. People got so mad at me for Brickgate. And maybe it was my delivery, but it's just like, I say all of that and I bring all of those stories up, guys, because I like to sit in the cut and wait. I do, you know? Shout out to all the people that waited on the Tupac case, because all the people that heard, I mean, can you imagine the people that actually interviewed Keefe D? And we're like, oh, are you really saying this? We're going to watch some of those. But before I do anything, amazing and huge shout out to the lead attorney. Thank you so much for sending $100 super chat. He says, I catch you paying attention to my ambitions as a writer. I do love that song. Guys, if you don't know the lead attorney, I would not be on this stream talking to you guys about this as articulate as I am. And I know I'm having fun and being goofy at the same time. But I learned how to live stream from the lead attorney. Huge mentor, friend to me. I have so much love for this person. It's unbelievable, right? I have live streamed for the last year and a half, made many mistakes, and the lead attorney has been phenomenal in guiding me through this. And it's funny because one of the videos I'm working on for you guys right now is the fact that the lead attorney and I, when I met him, I was actually covering the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial with him, and which was, I never intended to be a content creator at all. Like I met him as like one of you guys in the chat. And then, I mentioned that I had a legal background. He's like, oh, hey, come up. And then we just worked. It was awesome. So, like that's really how I got my start on YouTube. So if you guys are curious about content creation, I would encourage you to check out some of the resources that he has. He has an amazing live streaming course. I think there's a discount code that might be super outdated that still works, but you can find them on his description boxes. But yeah, I owe a lot to the lead attorney, so it's very, very generous of him to drop a super chat like that. So love you, lead. Thank you so much for being a participant in this chat. We love that. We love participants. But I'll also be honest, guys, like lead was actually one of the people that alerted me that this news broke today. And I can't tell you how many times I did videos on this case and no one watched it. Or, I was going through the search warrant and people are just like, oh yeah, whatever, Suge did it. I'm like, okay. But when you hear things coming out of Keefe D's mouth, when you're hearing things from the bodyguards, when you're hearing things from people that are super close to the situation, that are super contrary, it's insane. I also see my phone going off, guys. So if I'm missing Cash Apps, I'm going to come to them in a second. But just definitely wanted to give a few folks their flowers. But this case is crazy. I'm just happy to be alive to be able to watch it in 2024, and I hope you guys are too. Huge shout out to the lead attorney. I owe him a lot, so that made me super happy. He's also the stream sponsor, so I'll go ahead and update that too, right? Huge shout out to the lead. With a $100 super. Thank you so much for the stream, for sponsoring this stream, and also letting me know that the news broke today. I put a lot of work into this particular case, so it means a lot to me that you're here. Shout out to the Real Bravado Network, who sends a $20 super. Thank you, Real Bravado Network, also a content creator. We were in the mastermind last night. Guys, Lead also has a mastermind. So if you want to talk to me and a few other content creators, like we meet up weekly and just talk about all things YouTube, you can meet us over there. Check out Lee's channel for more information. The Real Bravado is one of those brothers that are in that space as well. We were talking about some shenanigans last night. I think he's coming out with a second channel. Y'all will want to stay tuned for that one. Shout out to the Professional Nomad Podcast again. It says, bring on the trial. Let's get to it, AV. This one is the one that will make you, that will take you to the moon. I think so too. I think so too. But guys, I showed you guys the press conference. We have a little bit of time left. Let me know if can you put a 1 in the chat if y'all want to see Keefe D self-snitching on himself? Do y'all want to see it? Thank you. Thank you for saying happy birthday. Oh, okay, shout out to all the Libras. Brifon says people have been making money off that man's legacy and corpse since the day he was laid out. Biggie too. Listen, big facts. Big facts. That's an interesting picture, but big facts. You are absolutely spot on with that one. Justice for Tupac. Thank you guys for saying justice for Tupac. We will get there. All right. Vegas police are always shady. Yeah. Sherry says finally. Yeah, guys, I've been cooking this whole time, so I haven't been able to come down to you here. MJ says found a gun in his home during the search. Match something. He said he was in the car, not that killed him. Here's the other thing, guys. Thank you, MJ. Here's what Keefe D had in his house. I showed you guys the search warrant two live streams ago. For some reason, the media is trying to conceal it, so it's not available on Google anymore. I should have saved it. Maybe I can go to my last stream and show you. Here's what they took. Toshiba laptops. They took a few iPads with cracked screens, a few phones, some hard drives, but they also found shell casings. Right? Shell casings. Not the bullets, not the gun, shell casings. When someone passes away, when they die of bullet wounds, and for those of you that are familiar with ammunition and guns, I'm probably already demonetized. There's a shell casing, and then there's the actual bullet. Well, where do the bullets go, AV? They go in the body. And if there's an autopsy, which also was egregiously leaked on the internet, if that's real, those bullets are extracted from the body during the autopsy, right? So if you keep the shell casings, what is your IQ? I don't know what else to say. Why would you keep it in your house? And it's not even in your house. It's your lady's house, your lady friend's house. Sim, yeah. No, not the weapon, the shell casings. I don't know what to do with this guy. Were you under any duress? I don't know. Nevada versus California, Sin. Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Gunmetal who's in here too. Guys, okay. All right. I'm so far behind in the chat. Take me to lunch, says Matthew. We love Maggie. All right. There's so many people in here. I think I've caught up on all of the supers. I'm going to go ahead and Valhalla's in here too. He says he's going to have to testify too. Otherwise, they're just going to play the video of him incriminating himself. He's going to have to explain himself or just take a life sentence. And here's the thing, guys. Keefe D has been diagnosed with some form of cancer. I don't know what type it is. But some people are saying, like, hey, he knows his days are numbered anyway. He has done time in prison before. It is crazy. Thank you, Sherry. Can I get some likes, guys? I'm cooking tonight. Can I get a like if you're here? Just one. Just one. Lead still balling. All right, you guys are giving so many props to the lead attorney. Thank you, Sherry. Is somebody... Sorry, somebody just FaceTimed me. I'm not live. Oh my God, really, person? Okay, Batman lead is Robin. Okay. All right, you're saving up for the course now? All right, awesome. Okay, you're dropping links. All right, you guys want to... All right, I see a ton of ones. Somebody says no sound. Can you guys verify that? If you can see and hear me, just put a 1 in the chat. I think you couldn't see and hear me because someone just FaceTimed me and it connects to the computer. Put a 1 in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to go straight to the self-snitching. I can't wait. All right, I see some ones. All right. That boy Will says lead ball head ass coming through with the $100 super chat, tricking me out. Ooh, ooh. There is what's happening over there. All right, let me go to the art of dialogue first, guys, before we go to Vlad. Because here's what I think is going to happen. I think that in the next day or so, these channels are going to be like everyone's going to refer to them as the actual evidence of when Keefe D self-snitched. These are two channels that I'm actually paying attention to because, you know, the first one, the art of dialogue that I really like is because he had interviewed multiple people before he interviewed Keefe D. I showed it to you guys in the last live stream specifically because after Keefe D knew actual knowledge that he was under investigation in July, he went back on this goddamn channel. Sorry to swear, Maggie. He went back on this channel and did another interview. I cannot tell you how silly that was. Now we're going to watch this together because the Art of Dialogue just released something 5 hours ago. And this is Gene Deal, who is a companion of Tupac, what's it called? He was one of the bodyguards. So, you know, it's interesting. I'm just switching accounts here so you guys don't get any ads. But Gene Deal had a lot to say about this particular case. He also has a few things with Mo Preem. It's so interesting. I see the lawyer, you know, is live streaming right now on this as well. So many people are talking about it, guys. But you know, I appreciate that you can go anywhere, but you're here with me, right? I appreciate that. Shout out to me. Thank you guys for being here. Let's go into this right now. Really, Google, you're gonna make me log in. All right, here it is. Okay, let's go to the art of dialogue. And for those that are sensitive to swearing, he keeps it super a buck here. Like, you're gonna hear it. So let's react to the art of dialogue together. This is gonna be really good.
Keefe D, right? If he do go to prison, right, do you think he gonna try to attach Puffy to Tupac murder? Because we all know if he do go to prison, man, he gonna be singing like Whitney Houston. I mean, let's keep it real, yo.
Well, man, why you say that about that man, bruh? Listen here, bruh. Listen, I don't know Keefe D like that to be, you know, singing about no murder stuff like that. I believe he even lied about his nephew and everything. I know he said if he goes to jail for Tupac, Reggie should go to jail for Biggie.
Okay, let's talk about that because Keefe D did say that. Keefe D said, because I think he, in a sense, he was still running around doing interviews. I think he knew that he could get arrested for this crime. But listen to what he said. He said, if I go to jail for the Tupac murder, this other guy should go to jail for the Biggie murder. I would not be surprised if there's some stuff on the news about that. Just saying, kind of irrelevant, but let's keep going.
You know what I'm saying? So he actually knows something we don't know, or all us don't know. You understand? I believe that he can't tie Puff to that because he didn't tie Puff to that when he was offered any kind of proper agreement or any kind of agreement with the feds or anything that has to do with the information they asked him. So he can't go now and say it if he didn't say it back then. And evidently he didn't say it back then because Puff was never even charged or brought in for anything. So he can't come 30 years later and when he gave a testimony regarding that and say Puff had anything to do with it.
All right, what is he talking about here, guys? So we know the East Coast, West Coast thing happened, right? Allegedly, the only reason why Keefe D was involved and Puffy was on the Breakfast Club vehemently, like, oh my God, he was denying this to the ground. Okay. Puffy was like, listen, I had nothing to do with that, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, there have been people that have said, like, Puffy had a hit out on Tupac, was willing to pay people all types of money to see Tupac die. That's actually what Keefe D has been saying in these interviews. He's been tying Puffy to it. So it is interesting. But this story is crazy.
That was something, that was all West Coast, bruh. That was all in-house. If you ask me, that was all in-house.
So you believe Tupac and Biggie murder was in-house?
I believe Big and Tupac was in-house. All had something to do with death row people.
That's a very strong comment to make, man.
Listen, it came from their own mouth. DJ Quick.
Ooh.
I think they got one of them bad boy niggas. They said they was gonna get him. Who was they? Had to be Death Row.
Ooh.
Somebody affiliated with them. Somebody he was around there. Who Pac had problems with? People at Death Row. He was firing people. Suge was firing people.
Okay.
He didn't want to deal with them no more. Wasn't nobody from Bad Boy that killed Pac. Nah. Not at all.
Whoo.
Now, if Wolf was out there and his crew like he wanted to, it's a possibility that any of that could have happened. But that wasn't, man, listen here, man. You can't, listen to me. There's no way, bro. There's no way that I'm going to have a convoy of cars and somebody's going to ride up to my principal and kill them.
Okay. This is a theory. Let's clarify that. This is a theory again. This is a huge theory, right? Because I think he does have a point here. If you guys, I want to find it. I'm gonna find it, but I'm just so distracted with doing this live stream for you guys right now. So maybe I'll do a VOD tomorrow. If you look at the actual footage of Tupac walking through that casino, I swear to you, he had like 20 or 30 guys behind him. It was a lot of people. He had a lot of people with him and Suge, right? They fought Orlando, whatever. And then they leave because Tupac, after he left the Mike Tyson fight, had the altercation with Orlando. They had to get in the car and go back and change and then go to a club because Tupac was going to perform that night. There were multiple cars heading to the club, right? There were multiple people with them. So I think what Gene's saying here is interesting. Like, how did these guys in this white Cadillac, number one, Keefe D says they spotted Tupac because, and I hate that Keefe said it. He was just like, oh yeah, Tupac was hanging out the window and all these women were screaming and they were chasing the car. That's how they knew that it was Tupac's car, right? And you have other accounts of the situation saying that Tupac was actually just sitting in the car and they saw his face. And you guys remember that epic last image of him in the, in the black BMW when he just looked over and somebody shot a picture. It didn't look like the window was down. And that was actually moments before the shooting took place, right? But I think Gene has a point here. If all of those men were with you, if you had a convoy of 20 people, how did these people make that happen? I just saw the lead attorney say, yeah, I ain't going on Vlad no more. Don't say that. Don't say that. Shout out to Mr. Bowen who says, I swear I miss the days when men talk to each other and not the world. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. But let's keep going to Gene.
It's no way, unless it's in-house. Somebody we know, somebody we cool with, some familiar face that we let go past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 different cars.
That's insane.
Because if we don't know you, what's somebody gonna say? They're gonna get out of line. Yo, get behind that guy. Who's that? Go right on close to him, blow your horn, do all kinds of stuff. Pull on the side of him, go up on the sidewalk. What you doing, man?
That's weird.
That's how you do. These are law enforcement officers. Some of them there, I'm assuming that.
Security, yeah.
They had a couple of law enforcement officers that was working, following Suge them. They're not going to let that happen.
Hey, Vietnamese.
Especially after Pac had a fight in the MGM.
Listen, cook it. Listen, look, he even looked down. Guys, I'm sorry. Gene is cooking. I can see why The Art of Dialogue just released this 5 hours ago before all the news broke, because think about it. If they just had a fight on the casino floor, and if everybody's going to the next location, how is it that they just had a fight? You would, if you're security, you would anticipate that some type of threat would be coming after the fight. You would anticipate the artist or the person you're charged, their safety. You would anticipate that, right? And if you look at that footage, Pac was in front of everybody leading that fight. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. People fight. It happens, right? I don't condone violence, you know, but you could see it. So if this is the person I'm protecting, and if he's over here and he just fights and we're going somewhere else, wouldn't you want to protect that person super closely? A little bit closer? We didn't see that protection. How was it that some random car was able to come up right next to him and pull that off? And look at Gene's face here, guys. Look at Gene's face. He's like, I mean, it's a little shady. It is. And then Keefe is just running around talking about it. So let's watch the last few seconds of this, but it's super interesting.
Come on, man. Save it for David. Tell somebody else. You trying to bump me in the head with that. Now I'm Sam Sausage Head if you want me to believe that. See, people don't understand is that then they say, yo, Gene Deal changed the story. Yo, when you get new evidence, when you start seeing stuff and people start coming out with stuff that they never called before, there's certain things going to have to change. Certain things going to have to be different. Because now you know new stuff. Russell Poole had that shit right all at the first time, man. And that's why they probably killed him.
Well, okay, this is going down the conspiracy rabbit hole. And here on this channel, we like to deal with facts. As you guys can see, there are a lot of theories with what actually happened. Okay? I'm still super shocked that this is actually going to go to trial. Keefe D has been arrested, and we're going to look at the facts, right? We will be all over that trial. Like, guys, you have no idea. But, you know, this is someone that was close to Tupac who's saying it was an inside job. You have Keefe D, and that's the other thing. You're running around the internet talking about how easy it was for you to get to a celebrity. How easy it was for you to bypass this legion of security. How is that possible? How did no one see you? This trial, guys, is going to be epic. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be insane. Byfriend says Poole was a cop. I think he died at the LAPD station while investigating it in like 2018. He had a heart attack. Really sad, right? It's insane, guys. But I did promise you to watch some of the shenanigans on the Art of Dialogue with Keefe D himself. Guys, I can't believe this man. Actually, it's 2 months ago. Boosie apparently called Keefe D a rat, but this is the man himself, guys. This is Keefe D, and shout out to the Art of Dialogue. Fair use, fair use. I'm just reacting if you ever find this. This is Keefe D himself talking about this after his home got raided in July of 2023. After he was under investigation by a grand jury. After. You would think that if you're under investigation that you would shut up and stop talking. No, dear viewer. He kept doing interviews. Let's watch this one.
How does it make you feel, man, when people call you a rat for admitting that Orlando killed Tupac? Like when Boosie called you a rat, you got real mad when he said that, man.
No, he said it one time. But once I got on his ass, he apologized. I don't want to beef with Keefe D. I apologize.
Look at how he's talking.
Yeah, you don't know me, dude. You don't know.
Guys, look at how he's I can't wait to see him on the witness stand. You guys are talking about, no witnesses. Imagine Keefe D himself, Keefe D on the witness stand. He's theatrical. I'm going to rewind that because here's the thing. Remember, this interview took place after his house was raided. He's oh, Lord.
What type of situation I was in. You don't know what type of situation I was put in, dude. To me, I was like Moses because they was going to take about 48 people to jail, motherfucker, and take everybody's house, leave people homeless, motherfucker.
Oh, my God.
Shit.
This is going to be
I don't
crazy.
know what you talking about. I freed my people to me. Shit. Yeah.
You said you was like Moses, yo?
I freed my people, man. They was for to make us homeless, dude.
He was trying to free the slaves. Is that what he just said? Is that... let's go back. Let me go back to that. Let me go back to be. Let's go back.
You talking about? I freed my people to me. Shit. Yeah.
You said you was like Moses, yo?
I freed my people, man. They was for to make us homeless, dude. Take everybody's shit. They was gonna destroy niggas, not just the people in Compton, niggas all over the country. Every nigga I was fucking with. They followed me around for fucking 15 years. You don't know what the fuck I've been through. You know what I'm saying? So he better not say that in my face, ever. I better not ever see him.
Okay, guys, he's reacting to someone calling him a rat for running a... I grew up in Boston, but I grew up in the hood in Boston. I'm just saying, he's reacting to someone saying that he's snitching, which is evident. I mean, is that not correct? You have been everywhere talking about this. So if somebody calls you a rat, I mean, but let's keep going. Yeah, listen, not but I mean, I just don't. Shout out to practitioner her who says, I bet you won't say that to my face. Right. Like he's just so defensive. Oh, this is interesting, guys. Let's keep going.
And he lucky, I'm 60 years old. I'm gonna grow the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna grow the fuck up on me. I wish you wouldn't do it today, Boosie. But you need to, you know what I'm saying, stop talking so much. You know what I'm saying? speaking on shit you don't know nothing about.
He should.
And that dude put you in crosses and all that shit. And all you always got something to say. Who stamped you to made you the spokesman for the black, you know what I'm saying, for the folks, for the gangsters? You ain't even no fucking gangster, dude. What the fuck have you did, Mr. Boosie Boots? You no fucking gangster, dude.
I apologize again for all the swears, guys, but I just want you. Let's start the trial now with character evidence. This is Boosie calling him a self-snitcher. And this is how he's reacting after his home was raided in July. I wonder if the investigators are just watching all of this on the internet like we are right now, guys. But shout out to a few of you that have mentioned, hey, like, what is this trial going to be like with no witnesses? I think that there were a few eyewitnesses who are probably super old right now. And this is not ageism, but I'm just saying that the crime took place in 1996. For you to recollect your memory in this way is going to be super interesting. Let's keep going.
You look like Ant with some black eyes, dude.
Hmm?
That little motherfucker, you know that little ant? I'm talking about that Martian.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You don't know what? Yeah, that's who you look like. Little bitty dude, yeah.
Right. So for the people out there, right, break it down for the people, man, because you keep saying that they put you in a situation that made you tell. So break it down for the people, man. What kind of situation did they put you in? You know, that made you tell on your nephew, man.
Okay, first of all, I was a boss, dude. So they did all the low-laying fruit. That's how the feds work, dude. They do the low-laying fruit first. You know what I'm saying? Then they come up to the top, dude. You know what I'm saying? And them low-laying fruits put me in a fucked up position. You know what I'm saying?
Is he
Put
trying?
me in a fucked up position where
It's so hard for me to understand him, guys. Is he trying to say low-hanging fruits? That the low. I can't do this. Y'all want me to do this? What lawyer's gonna do this? He's trying to say that low-hanging fruits put him in a bad position, and that's why he told. What did the interviewer just ask him? Hey, you're saying you allege that people put you in a position to tell on, your nephew. Because remember, his nephew is dead and is not here to defend himself. So we talk about him profiting off of Tupac's case. Is he not also profiting off of the death of his nephew? Oh my God, this case is crazy. What?
you know what I'm saying? And they already knew what happened before I even got there. The feds don't knock on your door unless they got unless they got a conviction. And their conviction rate is like 99%, dude. I couldn't win.
And you know that, and you still told, and you're on the Art of Dialogue right now, still telling. You know that the conviction rates are high. You know that they catch people, and I don't understand, guys. It's almost hurtful to watch this when he is literally. I can't. I don't know.
I ain't no fucking Donald Trump or nothing like that. I ain't got no fucking billions of dollars. Saying I'm just a fucking dude from the ghetto trying to make shit happen. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened, bro.
It is.
Tell them what happened. Shit.
Wow.
They shit. I gave me a deal that I couldn't refuse. Oh shit. I don't give a fuck what Boosie's saying. Boosie ain't in my life.
I mean, is that not proof, guys? They gave me a deal I couldn't refuse. It was low-hanging fruit. Y'all can't understand what I'm saying because I talk with, I don't know. Guys, I mean, this is going to be a crazy trial. I just, look at this. This is on the Art of Dialogue. This ain't even on Vlad. Still talk, like, if you had a competent attorney We shake people to not speak. We tell you to not speak. Matter of fact, don't do anything without me there if this is how loose your lips are. Oh, this is so painful.
You know what I'm saying? Boosie ain't no factor in my fucking life. He don't pay my fucking bills, none of that shit. He can suck my motherfucking So his opinion like an asshole to me. He lucky he ain't got a state charge out here, nigga.
The
my
hangers.
brother. He lucky he ain't got a state charge out here. You know what I'm saying? They'll really get his ass. They got monsters in the state prison out here, dude. Folsom and Corcoran and all them big prisons. They'll spin him on his, they'll pack his ass up with some motherfucking peanut butter.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Little bitch.
Okay.
But Boosie, yeah, he fuck him.
Oh my God. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that was enough for me. There's more. There's so much more. There's so much more. Pause. I know there's so much swears. Maggie, come get lead. He needs detention. I mean, guys, peanut butter, right? I was like, what is he talking about with peanut butter? But here's the thing. He just admitted right there. He's like, Boosie's coming at me because, he's calling me a snitch. Yeah, I snitched. It was low-hanging fruit. Like, do you guys remember Charlie Murphy and Rick James? And, he's just like, yeah, I did this. Like, that's exactly what Keefe D just did right there. He's just like, oh, yeah, I'm mad at Boosie because he's calling me a rat, and I'm not a rat. They offered me a deal I couldn't refuse. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't, why would he say that? I don't know, sir, because it is July and your home just got raided, and this is probably the time that you shouldn't be making media appearances, but you're still making them. And who cares if Boosie comes at you? Ignore it. Ignore it. But what did you do? You went on the Art of Dialogue. You went on Vlad. Went to all these places. Didn't shut up. And then implicated yourself even more. This is... Yes, Lashane, there's more. There's older stuff that he did. That's just one. This is more of a modern thing. I bet you the video that Vlad did, I'm going to bring. I bet you guys that the video that Vlad did is probably going to be trending tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and share some of it because this is the exact interview where Keefe D talked about everything. And there's a full thing, right? Like it's 2 hours long. Keefe D talked about Tupac. He talked about Suge Knight. He talked about Biggie. He talked about Eazy-E, Mike Tyson, and Orlando Anderson. Now I'm going to look at the spikes here because I want to kind of skip ahead to some of them. It's just a long thing to chop up. But all the news outlets right now are referring to this particular interview. And this is the interview that Keefe D did that implicated himself. This one was 4 months ago. Oh my God. Why did he do this? I can't.
Back in the early 70s, them dudes, like the Eastside Pyrus, they was gangbanging. Our older homeboys was getting money. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, they used to be with the Fruit Towns getting money. Mm. The older Fruit Town dudes, getting money. And my big homies was players. One of my big homies was the first black dude to have a house in Diamond Bar. My big homies was all about money, and
Look at this, guys. Character evidence, right? He's not on trial yet. Look at this character evidence. He's been there for 2 hours. He's just talking. He's just talking to talk. And the people at Vlad are very brilliant at interviewing because they probably have a full set of questions. They've probably asked him a few things before he started the interview. But at the end of the day, like Keefe D knew. There's no way he didn't know what he was getting into, right? For a 2-hour interview. I just want you to see how relaxed he is. And again, he's a frequent flyer on Vlad. It goes back 2 years. It goes back 3 years. And every time he comes back to Vlad, they always ask him about Tupac. So if there's a common denominator, I mean, there is.
Our hood is about money, man. Once you get a certain age, you turn into a gangster. You stop that gangbanging stuff, with your pants hanging down.
It's okay.
You know what I'm saying? You don't go look for trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Gangbangers look for trouble. We don't look for trouble. If trouble coming to us, we're gonna bring it.
How long did the peace treaty last?
Oh, it lasted a long time. Maybe about 3-4 years. Yeah, back.
Fast
wasn't no internet, wasn't no grow houses, none of that shit. We always had the best weed. So that's why most of the East Coasters and the Midwest dudes love our weed. Yeah, back then.
Well, since our last interview, someone actually sent me the CD cover for Orlando's rap album. Have you seen this before?
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Oh, that's a
Success Records and Entertainment.
Yeah.
You look at the track listing, What's Crackin', 7 Deadly Sins, Way After Daylight, Ride to This.
This is interesting, guys. What are we looking at, or what is the Vlad team showing? What we are looking at is his nephew, Orlando Anderson. This is his rap album that was released before he died, right? Just thought it was interesting. Oh, thank you guys for the copyright things. I'm still a rookie at this. I'm gonna try to find the quicker version that the news articles are playing, so that way they don't strike me. But this is worth it. I'm sorry. I have covered this extensively. If I get a strike on this one, I'm willing to take it. Shout out to the few people. Shout out to Wrench Turner, who sends me Unk sitting up there with a full depends on, talking like he still got it. He's talking like he still got it, Wrench. Thank you so much with the $10 super. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Shout out to Vince Edwards with a $20 super, who says, checking in, AP, keep pressing forward, sis. Thank you so much. It is so good to see you, Don Vicente, in the other space. Really, really good stuff. Always good to see you. There's so many people are reporting on this, but you guys, I'm taking the warning on Vlad stuff super seriously. It's just so hard because I want to show you the original interview. But Charleston White has even been coming at Keefe D, and it's just like everybody is just like, hey, this guy is out here talking about this, and it's insane, right? The Art of Dialogue has been covering it, I would say, all month. Okay, so now I'm going to show you one more. This is Keefe D saying that Tupac was set up in Vegas. We'll watch this one, and of course, I'm going to try to call it a night soon, but I wanted to break this news with you guys right now. And I might drop the link, see what you guys think. A few of you guys can come up if you want to, and we can have a deeper chat on it.
We had Tupac dad on the platform, and he spoke about, the situation that happened in Vegas. And he said that, he felt like Tupac, he was being watched by the government the night that he was shot. And he also said that he felt like Tupac was set up. How you feel about them comments being made by Tupac dad?
Keefe D confessed to the United States government in a proffer agreement to handing his nephew Orlando Anderson the gun that ultimately killed your son Tupac Shakur. After Orlando was jumped at the MGM Grand, you've never spoken on this. How does that make you feel that he confessed to that and the government gave him a deal?
Well, I think the key question there is the government.
Ooh.
The government gave him the deal. He was being tailed by the government the night of his assassination. He was being tailed by the government, Quad Studio. That's a known fact.
Interesting.
So I don't know this guy, Keefe. I don't know. Maybe he had to say that to get out of some issue. I don't know. I just know it looked like a setup to me.
What Tupac's the government? What the government gonna kill them for?
I don't know, because it's a family of Black Panthers. It's a family that had a lot of radical political views. Like, the the stepbrother, Tupac's stepbrother, and his sister. Again, I covered that in my last live stream and in my last video. They mentioned that their family had been targeted by the government a few times, right? And that they weren't fans of the government wasn't fans of the family. I think at one point Tupac like shot a police officer. Don't quote me on that, but like this family has had issues with the government. But yes, Roberts, I mean, I don't know what else to say here. But like he's just like, oh, what are they talking about? Why would Tupac's father do an interview and say that without reasoning to say that? I mean, you never know why people do what they do, but it's a question.
Who is he? What would the government kill them for? What would the government kill them for? That don't make sense. Why would the government kill him, bro? Come on, big dog. He that fucking powerful. Come on, man. That don't make no fucking sense. Like he Putin or some fucking body. Vladimir Putin. Come on, man.
Wow. Now we're talking about Putin.
You know what I'm saying? Government had him on the hit list. Come on, man. That don't even sound right, man. Conspiracy theorists. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, the feds don't come knock on your door unless they got your ass.
They came to get you.
They got your ass by the balls.
They came to get you.
And their conviction rate is 99%. And I don't have $1 billion. And he don't have $1 billion.
So now we know he is not going to be getting bail. He just told you right there. This is what I mean, guys. Like, it's all here. It is just all here. It's all here.
Tupac daddy don't know how the feds work. You know what I'm saying? That's his opinion.
The fact that he called him Tupac's daddy.
Let me tell you something, my brother. Tupac and them jumped on him. He was by himself. He didn't. My nephew never jumped on no fucking Tupac. Come on, man. Tupac was wrong as two left fucking shoes, nigga. I mean, don't you think he was wrong? Honestly.
When someone says this, let's listen to what he just said. When someone says, this person is wrong as two left shoes, and then proceeds to ask you, wasn't he wrong? I don't know. You just made a declarative statement, and now you're asking a question about that declarative statement. You said your nephew was by himself and didn't deserve to be jumped. So you can see just from this, it's almost like he's on the stand now and we get a preview, guys. Like, it's almost like we get a preview of this trial right now. I hope he gets adequate counsel, but even with that, he's cooked. He's cooked. You can't deny this right here. Like, oh yeah, my nephew was wrong. Like, let's play it out. If we're in court, if you're a prosecutor, and if you have this footage right here of this man saying it, like, sir, is that you? Yeah. Does that matches your description, right? Yeah. Did you say this? You can't say no. So I wonder, even with all of this evidence that is based off of his interviews, how they would come in, because this is just one platform. I tried to break into Vlad, guys, not break in, but everybody's like warning me of copyright strikes, so I'm being careful. I use a lot of it. Sorry, Vlad, but it's just to look at Keefe D's character and how nonchalantly he's having these conversations. Like, even when it comes to Orlando, what I was getting to with this one is he's talking about his nephew, but as he's talking about his nephew, he's looking at it from the aspect of right and wrong. You just said Tupac was wrong as two left shoes, but then you're asking the interviewer, wasn't he wrong? it's insane. The buffoonery is at an all-time high.
I mean, yeah, I think he could have, reacted in a better way.
You listen, homie. You don't think that man is wrong?
He could have reacted in a better way, I guess. I mean,
I'm talking about Vlad is his fucking biggest fan. He admitted that man is wrong, man.
Okay, all right.
I mean, yeah, man. I mean,
Shout out to Vlad. Vlad, now he's coming at you. And now he's saying that Vlad admitted that he was wrong. I mean, here's the thing. Why are you even coming at interviewers? You put yourself in the situation, Keefe D. Why are you asking these people questions? You are in that chair. If they paid you, you cashed the check. You took the money. You are like, I don't even want to know what the family is thinking, but at this point, the family is so tired. Everybody's profiting off of their dead family member. And you're even profiting off of your own family member. Oh, the morality, guys.
he
Come
was
on,
wrong,
man.
man, but that was only done out of loyalty, man.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. He never jumped. My nephew didn't jump on him. He jumped on my nephew, a kid, man.
Glad.
My nephew was a fucking kid. Them was grown ass mans, dude. You know what I'm saying? He was a fucking kid, dude. That's why he had on that jersey. He's a fucking kid, dude.
You know
what I'm saying?
there was some death row artists that were super young. There were teenagers that were with them too, that are now grown. But like, you had no problem. I mean, I don't know what Keefe did, guys. This is gonna be such an interesting testimony.
Yeah. They was wrong. And my nephew never jumped on him. They jumped on my nephew. My nephew didn't throw a punch, man. Shit was wrong, dude. Jumped on the fucking kid, dude.
And if I'm not mistaken, Orlando, he hurt his shoulder, right?
Yeah, they kicked his shoulder and he went to the hospital, big dog. Yeah, they kicked his shoulder and he went to the hospital. Yeah, sure.
What exactly was wrong with the shoulder?
They put him on a sling. Gave him a sling.
They gave him a slang.
Yeah, they gave him a sling. Yeah.
Okay. It's gonna be an interesting 2024, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link to see what you guys think. But to summarize all of this, Keefe D, if you haven't heard already, has been arrested for the murder of Tupac Shakur. They intend to bring first-degree murder charges with a tinge of gang activity in there as well. I told you guys, as I've been covering this throughout the summer, it really reminds me of accessory activity, because the person that actually pulled the trigger was Orlando, who is no longer with us. He died. And Keefe D is one of the only surviving people that was in that white Cadillac the day that Tupac was shot, right? What made things worse is Keefe D's inability to keep his mouth closed and continuously do all of these interviews, which the police have gathered as evidence, profiting from this by putting out documentaries, writing a novel, and that makes it really bad. Imagine somebody murders you and is just on A&E and on Vlad and all these places talking about it. And if he had something to do with it, he's profiting from this, guys. I don't know where your moral standards are, dear viewer. And I apologize, guys, that my soundboard was loud. I've turned it down. But I think we use that for effect here. It's crazy. His home was raided after a grand jury decided and worked with a judge to look at evidence to see if there was enough to indict him. That search warrant was executed in July. And I knew that it was going to be an interesting thing, because it wasn't just, uniformed police officers. There was a vehicle that resembled a tank from the Las Vegas Police Department. It was serious. It was almost like a tactical thing. right? I don't know if that's standard. If there's any police officers, you're welcome to join the conversation. But yeah, they went to Keefe D's home. They confiscated electronic devices that were, used for storage devices, tablets, computers, things of the like. They were looking for something, but they also found the shells from the murder itself. How he got those is strange to me, right? I want to hear about that because you either have the shells from inside of the car or outside of the car, right? So we'll see what the story is with those. But the grand jury decided that there wasn't enough to indict and arrest and try him for murder of Tupac Shakur, one of the greatest rappers of all time, right? I covered this when nobody else would, right? But at the same time, I do want to shout out the journalists. And of course, I have used some clips to show you guys to kind of narrate this story. But I do want to give a huge shout out to those journalists as well that have actually taken the time to talk about a unsolved murder that happened 30 years ago. Shout out to Bifrons who says Suge is quiet. This is interesting. It is super interesting, guys. Why is Suge quiet? Puffy knows why he needs to be quiet right now, but Suge is quiet. Suge, I believe, is Suge in jail still? The last time I kept track of Suge, we were talking about Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez, right? Because Tory Lanez at one point switched lawyers, and he retained a lawyer that was called the Death Row lawyer, and it was the same lawyer that got Snoop Dogg off of murder charges. But then, he also represented Suge, but he didn't represent Suge in the same type of case. He represented Suge in like a traffic stop or something like that. So people started calling him the Death Row lawyer. But the last time I heard Suge was in jail. I don't know if he's out, but it's just, he's still in prison. Thank you, WD. Okay, someone says he's in PC. For those of you who don't know what PC means, Suge actually may be in protective custody right now. With a high profile case like this, with this news breaking all day like this, I don't know what it's like to be an inmate. I can never imagine. I have some family members that have done time, and it's not easy, right? Not, minor things. Nobody's like done anything crazy like this, but people make mistakes in life, right? With Suge, may very well be in PC right now. I don't want to know what he knows about this, but the fact that we are getting a Tupac murder trial in 2024, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Let me go ahead and drop the link to see if anybody's interested in coming up, having a conversation about this. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I was 7 when Tupac died. I don't know how old you guys were. There is probably a lot of conspiracy theories out there. But just wondering what you've heard about it, what you think about, the self-snitching going on here. Like it's a little insane. And so I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat right now and pin it to the top. And I'm also going to can I do a poll and pin at the same time? I don't think I can. But I'll go ahead and pin that. If anybody wants to come on up. We'll talk, right? In the meantime, let me see if I think I've caught up on all the super chats. Thank you guys so much. The lead attorney is a stream sponsor here, so I'm super proud of that. Let me see. Fatal says Puffy should also be getting arrested. I mean, there have been some articles that I saw this summer that said he should be a little nervous. So we will see. Do you guys think that they are also going to be coming after Biggie's murderer soon? If that person is still alive or if that case is still active? Sinji says RJ Donovan Correctional Facility, 28 years for Suge. Okay, so he's still in jail. That's what I figured. Leonard says, I was 2 years old when Tupac died. Were you really, Leonard? Dang, Leonard, you're young. WD says, will be interesting if Suge is called to trial. I mean, he's in custody. he is in custody, right? So they can absolutely pull him into this for witness testimony. But I mean, if you think about it on the Tupac side, who would he be a beneficial witness to? He'd be a beneficial witness to the prosecutor because he was there. You also have to vet him to see if he's clean or dirty. Then what do you do with that? So it's going to be interesting on both sides when we actually go to trial. Rack Stone says self-snitching or bragging. I mean, it's both, Rack, in my opinion. Like it's both. Valhalla says, who knows what they got off those electronics. I just think that there's more that they're not releasing yet. We saw the police, and if you guys are coming in a little bit late, you can go back to the press conference that we watched together. We all reacted together. And we saw what the police had to say. We also heard from the DA as well. They seem very confident. And I've been saying that since the beginning, guys. Like even when they contacted the family, Tupac's brother and sister, they didn't seem confident in the police officers because they've dealt with so many of them over the years. They're just like, what do you have that's new? Aside from Keefe D's self-snitching and bragging. Shout out to Rack Stone. Puff is not going nowhere, Jack says. Live from NYC says Puffy should get arrested for so many things. It's not even funny. I mean, where do we start? Where do we start with that one? Up One says Keefe definitely fin a plea deal and is dropping names. I mean, if he was willing to just say all that to us publicly, and I say us because because guys, like this is almost like the court of public opinion. If you're willing to put something on that's public, like it's an interview, right? But you don't realize, as a person that has firsthand knowledge of a crime and you're talking about it, not only are you putting yourself at risk, you're putting many other people at risk, right? But in this case, it's not like Keefe D was putting anybody else in danger, because I bet you guys he's so, like, and I hate to say it, but he's so dumb. Like, he's really out there just like, oh, well, my nephew's gone, so I could talk about it. Let me write a book and let me do these things. I hate to use the Neanderthal voice, but it's just, you heard his voice. Like, why would you do that? Or if you write a novel, like, do it in a way where you can write it smart and protect yourself. Like, Robert says Puffy would like prison. Sinji says Puffy gonna need to sell more Ciroc than lawyers to keep his curl out of jail. Oh my God, you guys, I can't. Puffy will leave the country and join Russell Simmons in Bali, maybe. Live from NYC says witnesses said Puffy bust the first shots in the club shooting incident with Shane and J-Lo. Shine! Oh my God, I used to love Shine back in the day. Didn't Shine do time for that? Wow. Keefe is state's evidence against himself. Live from NYC, I don't even know how this man is going to defend this. Put it on the screen. Defense brings up Exhibit A. Oh, he said that he did it, but maybe he didn't mean all of that. Like, they're probably going to come at it with the accessory thing that I told you guys about. He didn't pull the trigger himself and he should get lighter time. That's probably going to be their play, right? If he gets good lawyers. He just said himself he don't make money. Who's paying for that? Who's paying for that? Who's going to pay for adequate counsel that can at least get his sentence reduced? He has cancer. He's going to die in jail. And he knows that. Maybe that's why he went out and did the interviews the way that he did. Shine did 7 to 10 years, and then he got deported. The lease says he talked his way into a whole ass case at 60, and he's hella weird. I mean, I'm just saying, guys, I think most of us are around the same age frame. I'm just really excited to watch this trial because it's going to be a dumpster fire. Reggie Wright got big in Pop Smoke. A lot of people are talking about Reggie. He's going to come into this too. A lot of people are talking about it, Cole. I bet he pulled the trigger and then pinned the shooting on his dead nephew. Well, that's the thing, Fatal. His nephew's not here to defend himself. Keefe is just shady, man. I don't care about that stupid shade. Gain and thank you, Live. Live is like my super sleuth in the chat. Live says gang enhancement is 10 years alone if they max it. Yes, guys. So there is murder on the table for Keefe D, but there's also a gang enhancement on top of that. Okay. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a wild 2024. Darknesses. Listen, guys, I appreciate you guys being here. I do see somebody in the back. Wow. I think this is going to be my first time meeting this person on a stream. Before we go, I saw my first dumpster fire in 95. Really, really. I'm going to bring my brother, someone that I value so much, guys. And whenever I think about this person, it reminds me of Kevin Samuels. I know, like, there are women that are like, oh, I don't like him. I liked Kevin. He was awesome. I actually had the honor of meeting him a few times before he passed away. He helped me a lot, right? And, you know, I met this brother in that space, and he has like the deepest voice ever from the South. And he's just super, super awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Wrench Turner. How you doing, Wrench, to the stream?
What's going on, AV? How you doing?
Doing good. It's so great to finally talk to you.
Yeah, man. It's definitely the pleasure is all mine. Salute on all the work you've been doing, man, and
thank you.
Super proud of you. Super
Thank
proud of
you. And shout out to you. I see the Dallas theme in the background there. You got your equipment going, and you're doing your thing as a fellow content creator as well.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to walk a tightrope. I recently took a promotion, so I got to be real careful about what I do content on. So
same. I hope no one from work finds this stream because I will be fired tomorrow. So I get it. I get it. But listen, Wrench, what do you think about this whole case? And thank you so much for dropping some love in supers as well. That was super nice of you. But what do you think of this case and Keefe D's situation?
So, just like you said, I grew up in some interesting environments myself. And when I look at Keefe D, man, he looked like somebody who probably was a gangster in his heyday, but he kind of looked like a smoker too, what we would consider a smoker. Like he might be a fiend or something. You know what I mean? Words all kind of garbled up, and
so like on drugs or something like that.
Yeah, doing weird stuff to get like a quick check. You know what I mean? Like talking to. That's the only thing I can think of. You either got some kind of addiction, and now you're doing whatever you can to try and get a couple dollars to get high, and he's really just probably at the end of his rope, like whatever happens. I'm just trying to get high between now and the time they pick me up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then looking at his teeth, I mean, not to judge anybody's dentals, all right? We don't want to judge anybody's dentals, but something looked like it was going on there. But if you listen to him while he speaks, like he slurs his words. And again, like, you know, sometimes people can have disabilities, things like that. I think he has been diagnosed with cancer, you know, so I don't know what's going on with him. But to your point, there could be some underlying drug use too, because I just cannot understand why somebody would actually continue to go on these platforms and do interviews. For what?
Yeah. It's definitely a fiend behavior. You know what I mean? And it's the age old story. You know what I mean? Like, you used to be the man, and now, you kind of at the end of your rope, man. You know what I mean? Like, what realistically thinking about it, like, what does this guy have to offer to society? You know what I mean? Just old war stories, and that's really it. You know what I mean? It's not like he's gonna get into IT tomorrow and be a productive citizen or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
right. What is he doing?
just seems like he's at the end of his rope. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then before I let you go, I just see somebody in the chat ask what gang enhancements are. What that means, here it is. We were talking about it with Live and NYC, and I just want to make sure here. Miss Jams asked the question. So, Miss Jams, what gang enhancements are? Is typically people can get additional time if they are participating in gang activities, right? So, if there's criminal offenses that are connected to that, instead of murder, he can get more years added on to that based off of that gang activity because he's a Southside Crip. He has not been shy about saying that in these documentaries either. So it's just like, I don't know why this person would do this to himself. And while I have you up here, I'm just going to cover another super shout out to Julian Brown, who says, just passing through, sis. Thank you so much, Julian. That was super, super nice of you. Always appreciate all the love you guys give me. But Wrench, what do you have going on your side for your channel?
Yeah, so I've been trying some different themes and different layouts, right? I did 2 streams that people seem to like where I kind of inject some old videos of like these Pentecostal preachers. And so I try to tie them into my stream because they're so far left of what we're talking about, but I try to do it in a comedic way. So I'm trying to lean a little bit more towards comedy. I tend to make people laugh on the platform. So trying to roll a lot more of that, trying to hide the medicine in the candy, so to speak.
There you go.
The leadership stuff, people kind of, oh man, we like it, but the streams don't have a lot of people in them. So that's really it. The one thing I will say before I drop down is for anybody who the thing that they should get away from this is learn how to be quiet, man. Learn how to be quiet, bro. If you have
that is correct.
If you're out here doing sketchy stuff, bro, the best thing you can do for yourself is shut up.
I mean, that is correct. I don't know what else to say. That's the whole stream, guys. What Wrench just said. That's it. It baffles me. It baffles me. Like, this is, I do not want to be his lawyer. I feel sorry for whoever's going to represent this guy. I really do.
Yeah, he definitely made it hard on his attorney, but yeah, that's the main takeaway. As I was watching it, I was like, I don't know why he won't just shut up. Like, whether you can ask me about, I'm 40, right? You can ask me about something that happened when I was 17. I barely speak English at that point. I mean, no English. Hey, I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, Wrench. Well, listen, I'm gonna get out of here soon. I'm so happy that you came up. Thank you so much, and thank you for all the love you showed to me and this channel. Where could people find you?
Yes, indeed. So I'm working on a book called Fur Covered Acts: How to Navigate the Gray Areas of Organizational Leadership. But outside of that, at Wrench Turner here on YouTube, and one Wrench_Turner on IG.
Awesome. Wrench, it was so good to see you, brother. Have a good night, and thanks so much for coming up.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. You have a good night, sister.
You too. See you soon. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, but Wrench was absolutely right. And if there's anything you could take away from me, of course, I'm not a licensed attorney at this time, but I'd spent a lot of time in law school and, my undergrad degree's in pre-law. So I've been studying this stuff for 7 years. The magic words when you are in custody is, I want to speak to a lawyer. Keefe D should have done that and left things alone, but he chose the path of profit. And as you see, here's where we are. It's very sad what happened to Tupac. He would have been celebrating a 50th birthday around this time. I think a little bit over 50. And we all have our favorite Tupac songs. So as I end this stream, I'm going to salute one more person, and that's the Real Bravado Network. Thank you, brother. He says, is that Suge or Wrench Turner? Listen, I appreciate, thank you so much, Real Bravado Network. I appreciate all you guys coming out to learn more about this with me. It's going to be a trial in 2024. Who would have thought? So what you can do for me before we leave is go ahead and drop your favorite Tupac song before we go. And shout out to Sinji and my brother, The Quiet Storm. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Bye.